English learners make up a sizable and fast-growing population, constituting about 10% of a public school student population, or 5 million students. Content standards are expected of all students, including English learners. To ensure that English learners meet content standards, the Every Student Succeeds Act mandates that English language proficiency standards, or ELP standards, are aligned with content standards. The question is, how do we align ELP standards with content standards? In relation to alignment, I highlight one major shortcoming of content standards and ELP standards. For content standards, we do not know the extent of convergences and discrepancies across content areas because content areas traditionally do not communicate or collaborate. For English learner education, there is a lack of a general consensus on what language is and how language is learned. Currently, there are multiple theoretical perspectives and multiple sets of ELP standards. Despite these challenges, English learner education and content standards must forge ahead in ensuring alignment. I propose 3 components in alignment, and I use the disciplinary practice of arguing from evidence as an example. The first component involves norms of disciplinary practices across the content areas. For example, what counts as argument or evidence varies across ELA, math, and science. The second component involves developmental progressions of disciplinary practices across the K-12 grade levels and across the content areas. For example, ELA Common Core state that K-5 students are not able to engage in argument. Instead, K-5 students express opinions. Science standards, in contrast, expect the youngest children in kindergarten to argue from evidence. The third component involves language use across levels of English language proficiency. For example, when English learners engage in argument, ELP standards expect less from English learners, especially English learners at beginning levels of proficiency, even though content standards are expected of all students, including English learners. These challenges also present opportunities for English language education. Scholars must come together to resolve or bring together multiple theoretical perspectives. Consider the history of ELA, math, and science education. ELA agreed on whole language and phonics. Mathematics education agreed on problem solving and computation. Science education agreed on inquiry and content. Scholars in English language education must come to some general consensus so that policymakers could reconcile the current multiple sets of ELP standards and develop more coherent ELP standards, and practitioners can implement ELP standards based on theoretical and policy foundations. Now, for content areas, alignment could provide the impetus for content areas to address convergences and discrepancies. Through this collaboration, English learner education and content areas each can take a seat at the table so that English learners achieve academically rigorous content standards.